Welcome back to another episode of FCS Delivered, presented by FedEx Ground. I'm Craig Hadley, along with co-host Gary Reasons down in Texas, getting ready for the National Awards Banquet coming up in FCS college football. Gary, how you doing today?
A lot of busy things going on. We got a lot to get ready for, but really enjoyed this past weekend of FCS football. Craig, I had to stay up past midnight to get that last quarterfinal game out of the way, but it didn't disappoint.
It certainly did not. What a weekend. Now, Gary, as you know, FCS Delivered is presented by FedEx Ground. Seth Biley and Graham Bell are our producers. You can find us all over the place on podcast platforms from Apple to Google to Amazon and Spotify and many more. Of course, you can also find us on YouTube. All you have to do is search for FCS Delivered, and you will find our YouTube channel. And this is a special week to be watching us on YouTube, Gary, because I tell you what, we're going to be talking FCS playoffs, the two national semifinals. We're also going to be talking about the Celebration Bowl this weekend. But segment 2 of today's episode, Gary, I am so excited to see the video. You went on campus to deliver a surprise announcement. This year's winner of the FedEx Ground Doris Robinson Scholar Athlete Award. As you know, it goes to an FCS standout who excels in the classroom, on the playing field, across the community. And it was a lot of fun for you to visit the winner and present that news to him. I'm looking forward to it, Gary.
You know, it was a real treat to go out on campus and be able to do that. And we'll see that in segment 2 here of this show. But I'm not going to give you any tips. You have to hang in there.
Well, there were 15 great finalists this year, one from each conference involved in the FCS. There's 13 total leagues. So yes, what an opportunity to surprise this year's winner. Now, Gary, as you know, last week the quarterfinals took place. Montana beat Furman in overtime. South Dakota State beat Villanova. North Dakota State really walloped South Dakota, and UAlbany beat Idaho in that late game. Terrific games all around. I think one of the things that stood out to me, Gary, was Montana winning in overtime. It was the third overtime game of this postseason already. 35-28 over Furman. Junior Bergen, had a kick return touchdown, a punt return touchdown. The first Grizzlies player to do that since 2002. But wherever you look, Gary, there were 10 matchups in the quarterfinals.
I tell you, it was fun. It was a lot of activity. These games were fairly close except for the one ball game, and it was pretty impressive on how these teams, when you play the entire season, when you get together, the elite, the best of the best, and I tell you, they really showed out. Every single ball game was competitive, and it was a lot of fun.
Sure, I tell you, Gary, this weekend, 2 terrific matchups. UAlbany, the 5th seed, is at South Dakota State, the top seed and defending champ. North Dakota State is at Montana. North Dakota State unseeded, and Montana's 2 seed. Let's get to that game first, because even though it's the second game, 4:30 p.m. on Saturday, ESPN2, it was big news out at North Dakota State, obviously, this week. Matt Entz, who's in his 5th year as a head coach, 10th year on campus and on staff, he is going to leave after the playoffs to become the assistant head coach for defense and the linebackers coach for USC under Lincoln Riley. He's been terrific, 60-10 in his career, 2 national championships. He was runner-up last year, the Bison. Did that take you by surprise, Matt Entz's decision?
Well, he's been at that program for a long time, and he's got a lot of tenure there, and I think that he's made his mark in college football, especially there. And he ascended to be the head coach there and has been there for several years. And perhaps he's just thinking this is a time for him to try another avenue and going out there under Lincoln Riley, a guy that I've known for a long time. I was familiar with him when he got started at Oklahoma. Then he moved out there. He's had a need for a great defensive mind, a defensive coordinator to come out there and kind of put a little bow on top of that offense that they have. But Matt, for him, congratulations to him, his family. I know it's tough for him to leave the Bison because he's got so much history there and so much success that they've had there. But I think that it may be a fun time for him, a good opportunity to see just what life may bring in a different uniform.
Well, this has happened before, obviously, with the Bison. Craig Bowl in 2013, Chris Kleiman in 2018. On their way to winning national titles, they announced they were moving on to different programs. This time, Matt Entz, they're not the favorite to win at all, even though they've reached the Final Four now. They're 11-3. They're at Montana. It was 12-1, and it just has gotten stronger and stronger. The Bison eliminated Montana in the last two meetings of the playoffs, 2015 and 2022, in the second round. Those games were at the Fargo Dome, Gary. This one is in Washington Grizzly Stadium, where that crowd is always in a frenzy. Whew, this is a tough assignment for the Bison against the Grizzlies.
Yeah, I think it is. And you take a look at what they have to do. They got to travel out there, and not always going to be a good situation to go on the road and try to unseat a very, very competent Montana football team. The Grizz, they've got their little bit of momentum, I think, behind them, and it's been evident that they've been playing very good football as the season has progressed. And that number 2 ranking that they have right behind South Dakota State has been earned. It hasn't come easy, but I do think that they're on the run here to where they can continue to get a lot of good play at home, and they're going to have a raucous environment there. It's going to be a really special FCS environment. This is one you need to just get down with not one but 2 buckets of popcorn and enjoy the afternoon, because it's going to be a fun one.
I might go for a third with this one. Well, this is the first time the Bison are playing 3 straight road games since 2006. This is unusual for them. They're so used to playing inside the Fargo Dome. They did open up with Drake in round 1. So, I think wherever you look, it's just going to be a slugfest going up and down the field. I'm going to go with the Bison in this one. I think Cam Miller's on such a roll. Clifton McDowell's been terrific. He's 9-0 for Montana as their starting quarterback. What's the difference maker for you?
Yeah, North Dakota State, their offensive line, Craig, they're big. They're powerful. Is that going to be the difference in this ball game? Are they going to continue to be that dominant offensive football team like we saw this past week? We'll see. We'll see. Alex Gubner was the Big Sky Defensive Player of the Year for nose tackle. And I think that he's going to have something to say about that. Linebacker Braxton Hill, he's had over 100 tackles this season. Possibly he's going to have an opportunity to do something for Montana in this one. It's one of those things that I think that the crowd, Craig, the environment, is probably going to stay in the favor of Montana right there. And although I do think that the Bison will travel quite well, they're evident of that, and this should be a fun environment nonetheless.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, both teams have really, come back strong after some, shaky kind of start to the season. So they really blocked out the noise, which I'm sure is not easy to do for a team like Gary. I mean, what are the keys when you're maybe not living up to expectations to really overcome that?
Well, this is exactly what the coaches have to do for both football teams. You try to get your players focused on what their tasks are, what they're asked to do, and make sure that they focus on those things very, very clearly, and just forget about the white noise, all the distractions and things that go on in big games and in championship level games. This, you can consider this as to be almost a championship level game, because I think that's what the environment's going to be like. It's going to be one that hasn't happened up so to speak in Montana like this in a long time, because I think the Bison faithful are going to come out in a large number to come up there and see if they can kind of be disruptive and hopefully help their team. But it's something that these teams, when you talk about players and how they have to act and react, it's something that you have to play, and the game's going to be fast. You're going to think that the game is going really, really fast as a player, and you got to take it all in, and you've got to be able to, then bring it down to reality. But you've got to do your specific job, your specific task for your position. And, sometimes it's not easy to do for players who aren't able to focus. But I think both of the caliber of teams that we've seen here, they've been well instructed, they've been well coached, and they know exactly where they need to go and what they need to do each play. And it's just a matter of execution at that point. And this is going to be a tough physical ball game that I don't think that is going to disappoint anybody in that type of an environment to have such a great ball game.
Well, with the Bison and Grizz, you have 11 national titles. You have 17 appearances in the national final. That's some slugfest. Now, the winner of that game is playing the defending national champion from the FCS level. Obviously, top-seeded South Dakota State. They're 13-0. They're hosting UAlbany, the 5th seed, which is 11-3. This is the first time the Great Danes have been to the semifinals on the FCS playoff level, Gary. It's a first-time meeting. They're playing 7 o'clock Friday night on ESPN2. And adding to our FCS awards that we just love and are in awe of these recipients, Jimmy Rogers was the Eddie Robinson Award winner for National Coach of the Year, South Dakota State. UAlbany's coach, Greg Cotesso, he was second and was close in the voting. This is a tremendous matchup, not just of teams, but of coaching minds, Gary.
I like that. I like both these coaches. I got a chance to meet Coach Gattuso earlier this season at UAlbany and was really impressed with him. He's got those 2 Great Danes, and he just runs those dogs out there. And that's figuratively, but he also really does have 2 Great Danes, to his credit. But this is going to be a fun ball game. To me, I can't see how UAlbany comes away with a big win. If they do anything, it's going to be a close win. They're going to have some turnovers and takeaways and different things. I think it's going to need that type of an effort for them to really get over the top on the Jackrabbits, who I think are playing as good a football as I think I've ever seen at the FCS level. This combination of talent that they have, Mark Gronowski has done a great job as a quarterback for that football team. And when he hands it off to Isaiah Davis, just goes, it just seems like it's an engine that continues to go. But, on the offensive side for UAlbany, Reese Poffenbarger has had a tremendous season. He's thrown that ball around the yard, 36 touchdowns on the season, which leads the FCS. Pretty good stuff that's going on there. Hopefully the weather's going to be conducive to a good contest and doesn't wreak havoc on that environment. But it can. Sometimes it may. But I think that it should be something they should all look to be really an opportunity to play a very good ball game. I do think that Jackrabbits are probably going to be a little bit too tough here for UAlbany, but this should be a good ball game.
Yeah, I think UAlbany, they need to do something a little, gain something like a special teams kind of turnover or touchdown, something to really throw the Jackrabbits off. Obviously, the Jackrabbits have won 27 straight games. It's the 3rd longest winning streak in FCS history, but also 20 straight at home, Gary. They're so used to, playing in the cold, playing at home. I do think they need, the Great Danes need to have something go in their favor to really, change the direction of this one. But I agree. I think it's going to take a little bit too much. I think the Jackrabbits, make their way back to Frisco and get it done Friday night. Now, there is one other game, Gary, that this week, and it's a big one. It's the Celebration Bowl, the 8th annual Celebration Bowl down in Atlanta. It matches the MEAC champion, Howard, which you saw in one of your on-campus visits. They're 6-5. Also, the SWAC champion, Florida A&M. They're 11-1. They were 10-1 in the regular season, and they won the SWAC championship game. Gary, this is a fun matchup. It's on ABC. We talked a little bit about it last week. Florida A&M, the Rattlers, are pretty good, but guess what? The MEAC is 6-1 in this bowl game, and they've won the last 5 matchups. The last 2 years, Jackson State was a double-digit favorite coming out of the SWAC and still didn't get it done. I know you like the Rattlers.
I do. I think we could get all these Rattlers just kind of getting after them. So that defense of theirs is pretty good because they're second in the FCS in both points allowed and yards allowed per game. So when you play defense like that, you can win a lot of football games. And I think that the Rattlers certainly in this one have an opportunity to do that. Howard, they've had a tremendous season. They've overcome some really tough times at the start of the year. If you guys remember back then where they had some incident on campus they had to deal with. But congratulations to them to get to this game. They upset a very tough football team in North Carolina Central, and that was a great win for them to get to this ball game. So pretty good stuff going on, and I think that is going to be a fun ball game to watch. But I think that the Rattlers here are really going to get the best of them.
I'm going to agree with you, Gary. I like Florida A&M. I do think Howard could get it done with Quentin Williams at quarterback. He's been their quarterback for so long. He's thrown for over 7,500 yards in his career. I think he gets overlooked with all the great players out there. He's just been steady through the years, and this year he's really protected the ball well. Howard's got to take a lead and really kind of silence that Rattlers momentum that they've built over time. Larry Scott's done a terrific job, but I agree with you. I think Willie Simmons' team down from Tallahassee gets it done finally here in first matchup for these two since 2019, and the first time both are in the Celebration Bowl. So hopefully it's another fun game. They usually are down in Atlanta. Now, Gary, we're going to take a break from FCS Delivered, but when we get back, you're going to take over and show us your surprise announcement to this year's Doris Robinson Award, the FedEx Ground Scholar Athlete of the Year. Looking forward to it, Gary. We'll take a look after this break.
Rehearsals for the school play were really coming along.
Bigger smile, Mr. Squirrel?
Until a custodian accidentally threw away the costumes.
Oh no!
Everyone was rattled. Miss Garrity forgot how to play. And the Queen of the Hedgehogs almost quit.
Find a new queen!
But replacement costumes were shipped with FedEx. And with added peace of mind from picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
Welcome back to FCS Delivered, presented by FedEx Ground. In segment one, I talked to you about, somewhere that I went this week, and it was to Montana State University, and we delivered a very, very special award to a very, very deserved athlete. Check it out.
Well, Tommy's one of a kind. I've coached for quite some time and had an opportunity to work with some great individuals, but Tommy's certainly one of a kind as far as how he's driven. And that drive shows up on Saturday afternoons, but it shows up every day of the year, both in the classroom with how hard he works to achieve a 4.0 as that continues on. And I truly believe Tommy, whether it's on the field, off the field, in the community, he's about as good as it gets, and we're so proud of him, and this is a great honor that is well-deserved.
I talked about the 5 legacy awards, and it's very apparent that you guys have, losing the voice down, it's very apparent to me that you have a great young man here, and it's a pleasure for me, Tommy, I'll just show you. In recognition of your outstanding football excellence, your academic outstanding performance, and your community involvement, we'd like to recognize Tommy Mellott, quarterback, Montana State, as our 2023 Doris Robinson Scholar Athlete Award winner.
And all the guys that kind of followed us now, and all the guys that led us when we first got here, thinking of a lot of guys in this room I'm looking around at, just inspired me to work my butt off with the opportunities that I had and the opportunities that we were given here at Montana State. So to be recognized for this award is pretty amazing.
Give him another round of applause.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
Oh no!
replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
Do you like what you're hearing on FCS Delivered today? For more national FCS coverage, please go to theanalyst.com throughout the week. We're the home for the FCS Top 25 Media Poll and the weekly and season-ending FCS National Awards, presented by FedEx Ground. We also take you across FCS Nation with stories, predictions, and an inside look. The FCS coverage can be found at theanalyst.com.